Is the screen visible to you? Nirmal?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so very good morning, students. So we'll move on to the next section of our data communication network class. In the last class, we have discussed about the topology, network types, connecting devices, and also we completed an activity. In that last class also, we continue with that protocol layering. What is the necessity of layering? Okay, so we stop there with the layering. So we'll continue with the remaining part of the layering and we'll move on to the ISO OSI layers and the TCP IP. At the end, we'll have a video so that I will play the video. You will come to know how exactly the OSI layers works with that particular video. It will give a clear picture of OSI layers. So this is what we have discussed in the last class. So let me ask a question. Why we are going for a layering? Anyone? Why we are going for layering? We have seen single layer protocol and triple layer protocol, three layer protocol. So what is the need for layering?
To subdivide the problems.
Yes, exactly. Very good. So if you want to divide the problems, that is, if we have a larger problem, we want to make it the problem to be a simple one, so that we are dividing the problem into three different layers, such that each layer will perform its task with their own protocol. So with the help of those protocol, the particular layer can accomplish its own task. So that is the concept of we are going for a layering. So we have discussed with the single layer with a simple protocol and a multi-layer, that is a three-layer approaches. In the three-layer approaches, we have discussed about the encryption. If we have a confidential project, if we want to execute those project, we need to talk individually, so that we go with the encryption decryption, how it performs with all the three layers. That is what discussed in the last class. Okay, so now we'll discuss what are the advantages of protocol layering. Okay, so far we have discussed about the layering, why we are going for layering. So we'll discuss about the advantages. So it separates the services from the implementation. So a single layer or a single protocol or a single soldier, when he or she is executing the entire concept, is very tedious. So that what we are going to do when you go for this layering, we have the separate the services. Okay, so that each layer will perform its own services. So that is the first advantages. Second one, the layer needs to receive a set of services from the lower layer and gives the services to the upper layer. If someone is completing their service, which is a layer below, they can able to give the data, so that we will forward the data to the upper layer. So such that we can able to coordinate with all the layers, so that our work gets done. So that is why we are going for the protocol layer. That is the second advantages. The third one, the whole system is more expensive if there are no protocol layering. Okay, so you, instead of separating the layers, if the single user is executing a complex task, then it is more expensive. Then there may be a problem that it may end up with a collision, or you may not be able to receive the data correctly. So that's why we are going for this protocol layering. So these are the main advantages of the protocol layering. Okay, so now we'll move on to the two principles of the protocol layering. The first principle, we have two principles available. The first principle is, it dictates that if you want bidirectional communication, bidirectional means two-way communication, we need to make each layer to perform two opposite tasks. Can you explain what are the two opposite tasks in each direction? Students, anyone can explain. Akshya, what are the two opposite tasks? Last class I have told there are two approaches available. What are the two approaches? One is the top-down approach, other one is the bottom-up approach. Okay, so we are going to perform in a two opposite direction. What is top-down and what is bottom-up? You have three different layers. What is the top-down approach and bottom-up approach? Akshaya? Are you there? Anyone can answer. What is the two opposite task that has to be performed by each layer? Anyone? Students, kindly answer. Abhishek, Balaji, Brinda, Dharanidharan, Darun Pandian. Anyone can answer, Pa. Am I audible?
Yes,
Disha?
sir.
Okay, Disha, are you there? Disha, Durga Devi. Yes. What are the two opposite tasks, ma?
Sir, bottom up approach and top down approach.
Okay, that are the two things available. What will we do in bottom up and the top down?
Uh,
From the name
Listening and talking, sir.
itself, it is very clear. Bottom up. What do you mean by bottom up?
Sending, sir. Sending.
Yes. Yes, we are going to. We know that we are segregating the problem into three tasks. Am I right? When you go for three layer, each layer will have its own task. So you say that top-down approach, from the third layer, you will move out the data to the second layer. Second layer will move to the first layer. This is one way. The other way is that after being processed by the first layer, again it has to go to the top layer from the receiver. So from the first layer, it goes to second layer. From second layer, it goes to third layer. So this is the case. That is what we are seeing in the diagram. You can see you have a bidirectional arrow. So it has to come in this way. After being sent, it will be returning back, so that whenever you will be having, so it will go in that way. So whatever you encrypt here, it has to be decrypt here. So that is the concept that we normally follow with the top down and a bottom up approach. Okay, so that is the case with the first principle. Listen in one direction and talk in the other direction. That is the case. The second principle, we need to follow the protocol layering such that two objects under each layer at both sides should be identical. So both sides means, so these things under these things, whatever the thing that is available here has to available here. If you are performing encryption, you need to decrypt. If you are converting the second data into the stream of bits, whichever the data that is coming from the layer 2 has to be converted here. Here the reverse process, whatever the data that is available with the first layer, when it goes to second layer, it has to be converted into other form. So those things should be identical, okay, with respect to the layers. Okay, so that is the two principles that are available. Next, we will move on to the logical connection. So what do you mean by logical connection and physical connection? What is the physical connection and logical connection? So they are logically connected, but they are not physically connected with one another. Okay, so it seems that there is a direct communication, but it is not physically connected, but it happens in the top-down approach. Okay, from the layer 3 to layer 1, again from layer 1 to then layer 3. So this is how the communication is established. So if we have a plain text here, here also will be have plain text. If we have ciphertext, you will be having the ciphertext. So these two ciphertext remain same. It seems to be they are logically connected, but there is no physical connectivity between these layer 2 directly. So it has to be go with the layer 3, layer 2, layer 1. Again, it has to go with the layer 1, layer 2 and layer 3. So this is how we have the peer-to-peer, one-to-one logical connection here. Then we'll move on to the next concept. Based upon the, we know why we are going for layering. Based upon that layering, ISO have defined, there are define this problem under the 7 layers. Okay, so ISO, you know that it is an international organization for standardization. So that is the ISO. So it is a multinational body dedicated for worldwide agreement on international standards. Why you should have a global agreement? Why should we have a global agreement? Why we should not have our own agreement in India alone? Why you should have all the things to be a globally one? Is there any necessity you should go for global organization or global standards? This is a general question. Why should we go for a global standards? Why don't we have our own standards? Any answers, students? Nirmal? Dinesh
Sir, so
Kumar?
that we can
Yes.
communicate with other countries.
Yes, in order to have the compatibility, if we have our own standard, when you want to globally interact, it is not possible. So if you follow the global standard, then communication becomes very easy. That's why we are going for this international standards. The next one, it covers all the aspects of the network communication. This open system interconnect, which is defined by this ISO, will cover all the aspects of the communication. First, it was introduced in late 1970s. So this is the organization, they modeled the ISO, or you can say that is they modeled the OSI, Open System Interconnect. Okay, so this is the model. It is a set of protocol. As I told that when you have a layer, each layer will have the protocol. Each protocol will be considered to be a soldier. What is the duty of the soldier? They want to safeguard, they want to execute their duties and responsibilities at their layer. Okay, so each layer, open system, we have set of protocol that allows any two different systems to communicate regardless of the underlying architecture. Whatever may be the architecture, even one system may operate with a one the portion when you segregate into two different category, entity A, entity B. Entity A we have different layers, entity B will have different layers. Entity A may work with a Windows, entity B may work with a Mac. So they have different architecture. So depending upon the underlying architecture, whatever may be the architecture, if you want to communicate the two different systems, then we need to have a set of protocol which is defined by this OSI. So that is what we are going to discuss in this class. So this is the OSI layers. Starting from the bottom, we have the physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, and application layer. You have totally 7 layers available. Okay, so when you say a top-down approach, we have to start from the application layer. When you say bottom-up approach, we have to start from the physical layer. Okay, normally the application program starts from the layer 7. So from the layer 7, we will be moving each and every data, whatever the data you want to transfer, it has to come from the application layer. It has to reach the physical layer. From the physical layer, you will be using the cables. That is the transmission media. Then the transmission media will go for the which will be connected by means of wired or wireless to the another entity. Again, you will be having there you have bottom up approach. Again, you will be have physical data network transport session presentation and the application. Okay, you can able to see here these 4 layers are in one color, whereas these 3 layers are in different color. There is a reason behind this one. So before this OSI, we have the TCP/IP protocol. So there we have only 4 layers available. These 4 upper 3 layers, they have confined and they have formed as only one layer, that is called application layer. Below these 3 layers are confined with below these 4 layers are confined to form 3 layers. These two form one layer and we have second and third. That is the TCP that we'll be discussing in the forthcoming slides. So these are the 7 different layers available. You just remember the order in which you will be having these layers, starting from physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session, presentation, and application. Okay, so in a TCP/IP, as I told, you have this segregation. All these 3 will combine to form an application. Again, you have physical layer. This data link layer and a physical layer will be combined together. They will be called as a link layer or a network access layer. Then the third layer, the network layer, is called internet layer. As usual, you have 4th layer as a transport layer. All the 3 will be considered to be the application layer. So in the right hand side, the layer structure is said to be a TCP/IP. In the left hand side, you have the OSI. So this is how we have the different in the structure or the layering of a TCP/IP and a OSI. So why we go for this? This is segregation we'll be discussing later. So whenever anyone is asking about how many layers you have in a TCP/IP or in OSI, you have to differentiate correctly. In OSI, we have 7 layers. whereas in TCP you have a 4 layers. So when you are not separating these two, we'll be having a data and a physical. So these two club together to form a link layer and network access, then internet layer, then the transport layer, and finally you have the application layer. So we have 4 layers available in TCP IP. So why we are not considering these upper 3 layers? Because we consider only the TCP IP with 4 layers. Okay, there is some reason behind. The OSI model appeared after the TCP protocol. So first initially they have developed the TCP IP. Later on they have developed the OSI layers with extending with 4 layers. There is 3 layers again. Most experts thought that TCP IP protocol will be fully replaced by OSI since it has been developed after the, as we know that whenever there is a new invention, we normally go with the replacement of the existing one. So like that, the expert thought that the TCP IP would be fully replaced by the OSI layer. But this does not happen because of the several reasons. As you know that when you go on with a newer version of mobile model, the older version gets replaced. But in the case of OSI, see, even though the OSI have been and that is found discovered later than the TCP, the experts thought that it may not be it didn't replaced as they are expected because of these two reasons. You may expect in any 2 mark question what are the reasons that we are not fully replaced with the OSI layers even though it is developed later. This is the first case. The OSI was completed when TCP IP was fully in place, and lot of time and money had been spent on this TCP IP suite. So if we want to change that one, it requires more cost. So the involvement of the financial aspect is more since it has been implemented already with all the 4 layers with the TCP. Again, if we are adding 2 or more layers, it involves more amount of time and money. So that is the first reason. Second one, some layers of OSI model were never fully defined. Okay, especially in the presentation layer and the session layer, they have not completely defined the specification as it was defined with the other layers. So because of these 2 factors, they continue to implement with the TCP IP rather than the OSI. Even though we have the OSI, we studied the OSI, the complete picture will comes with only with the TCP IP. So this is the summary of the different layers of the OSI. Now we will be discussing about this OSI starting from physical to application. So the physical layer, what is the role of the physical layer? So it is going to transmit the bits that you need to remember carefully. Here you will be having all the things will be available in the form of bits that will be transmitted over the medium. So media here, you are transmitting the cables. It may be a wired cable or it may be a wireless one. When you go with the wired, you have 3 types of wired cables: coaxial cable, twisted pair, and optical fiber. The other one is the wireless media, that is open air. So whatever in the physical layer normally consists of information in the form of bits that will be transmitted over the physical media that provides mechanical and electrical specification. We are going to convert these bits into electrical signals by using some techniques. Okay, that is the thing that happens in the physical layer. So that is the role of the physical layer. Second one, the data link layer, it is going to organize the bits into frames. When you go with this bottom to up top, here you have the bits available. The bits will be converted into frames. Each frame we have a group of bits. When a group of bits forms together, it forms the frame. What is the function of this data link layer? It has to provide hop to hop. What do you mean by hop? You have one node here and you have another node here. The distance between these two is said to be this hop. So the data link layer provides the hop to hop delivery. So that you have to know. The third case, when you move with this frame, the frame is again moved to the third layer, that is a network layer. Here you are going to combine several frames together. Those frames forms the packets. Combination of several frames forms the packet. The task is that you are going to move the packet from source to destination. For what purpose? In order to provide networking. So in order to provide networking, you are forming the packets and moving the packet from source to destination. So that is the role of the third layer. The next one, these packets will be moved to the upper layer, that is the transport layer. Here you are going to provide the reliable process to process delivery with respect to segments. Okay, so to provide a reliable process to process. So what here the process means when you have the certain actions to be performed with a particular layer, the same thing will be performed with the another entity. So that is said to be the process to process. Okay, so it is a reliable process to the transport layer always provides the reliable communication. This reliable communication comes with the help of the TCP. TCP plays a vital role in the reliable communication for the message delivery and error recovery. Here you can able to recover the error in the transport layer. The next we will move on to the session layer. For all the remaining, you will be having the information in the form of the data only. So to establish, manage and terminate the session. If we want to establish a communication, for example, in order to establish a communication with A and B, we need to establish, manage and terminate the session. The session has to establish between this A and B. So for that, this session will help a vital role or plays a vital role. The next one, presentation layer. So whenever you get the data from the upper layer, how we are going to present the data, how we are going to translate in a suitable form, how we are going for encryption, then how you going to compress the data. When you receive the data, you cannot transmit the data as it is. You need to compress. So those things will be taken care by this presentation layer. You are going to encrypt, you are going to translate into a suitable form, then you are going to compress. Then only it moves to the next layer, that is a session layer. Here you have the established management and the terminate the session. Finally, you have the last layer, that is the application layer. Here you are going to access to the network resources. Whatever the resources we have, those things will be accessed with the help of the application layer. So this is the overall structure of the OSI model. Is it clear, students, with this explanation? This is the overall explanation. We will be discussing each and every layer individually on what are the features and what are the responsibilities of every layer will be discussed in the forthcoming slides. Are you clear? Kindly acknowledge. Students, are you clear? Students, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, are you clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes. Okay, so now we'll move on to the first layer, that is the physical layer. So here, as I told that all the information will be available in the form of bits. Okay, so from this physical layer, we will go to the, when you want to communication with another layer, another entity which is available here, the bits will be transmitted through this transmission media. Here you can see it is a electrical information. The bits will be converted into electrical pulses. Okay, ones and zeros will be converted into electrical pulses, then will be transmitted through the copper cable, that is the coaxial or twisted pair cable, or you can have the optical fiber. In optical fiber, the information will be transmitted in the form of light. So that is the difference between the coaxial, twisted pair and the optical. We will be discussing in the next part the different types of cables. Okay, so there we have a clear picture about the physical media alone, that is the transmission media. Here the physical layer, it coordinates the function. What are the function? It is going to carry the bit stream over the physical media. So in the physical media, the bit streams will be carried over. It deals with the mechanical and electrical specification and the interfaces that are used in the transmission media. So you may have, you want to convert these bits into suitable electrical signal. For that, you need some interfaces available. So those things will be taken care by the electrical and the physical specification which is available in the physical layer. It defines the physical characteristics of the interface between the devices and the transmission media. Okay, so this takes care of your physical conversion of your data. So what are the responsibilities of the physical layer? It is going to represent the data in the form of bits. When you say the bits, it will be available only in zeros and ones to be transmitted. Okay, it is encoded into the signal. It may be encoded signal, maybe in the form of a electrical signal or optical signal. It also defines the type of encoding. So the changing the signals from 0 to 1s. Okay, so that is said to be the encoding. In a communication, you will be discussing about the different types of encoding. Okay, Manchester encoding. Then you have the other types of NRZ encoding, various encoding schemes available. So you'll be seeing that it is nothing but your conversion of a data from one form to the other form. Next one, it is going to specify about the data rate. The data rate is nothing but the transmission rate. How much fast it is going to transmit your data. That is said to be the transmission rate. Okay, so number of bits sent at each second or the duration of bits it lasts long. How much amount of time or that the bits it will be takes, or what is the number of bits that is going to second, that is transmitted per second. Okay, so that is said to be the data rate. Okay, so for a particular second, how many you are going to transmit it? Either you are going to transmit 100, 1000 or 10,000. That will determines your how fast your data is. Then next one is synchronization. So synchronization here represents tuning. If I am synchronized means I am tuned to you. Whatever I speak, you listen. Whatever you speak, I listen. That is said to be the synchronization. The sender and the receiver used bits should be synchronized. Okay, so if I am sending a particular bit, it is said to be 1. You should be, if you are synchronized, then you will be receiving the first bit 1. So that is said to be the sender and the receiver should be synchronized. For that, the clocks should be synchronized first. Okay, so whenever the sender and the receiver clocks are synchronized, then it will be easy that whatever you transmit, the receiver can be able to receive at a proper time instant. The next one, line configuration. As you know that there are two types of configuration that we discussed in the earlier before we discussing about the topology. You have the point-to-point configuration and a multi-point configuration. So as you know that in the point-to-point configuration, you have a dedicated line, and when you go with a multi-point configuration, you will be having a common cable. You will be having the tapping over there, and you will be extending the nodes at that particular tapping. So that is where you have the shared links among the several devices. That is said to be the line configuration that normally happens when you go with the physical cables, or when you go with a wireless media, you will be sharing the resources that is available. That is said to be the line configuration. So whatever we are discussing now, it is said to be the responsibility of physical layer. The next one, the physical topology. So it establishes a physical connection of devices using different topology. As you know that we have discussed the 4 different types of topology, starting from star, mesh, ring and a bus topology. So we may have, when you go with any type of physical connectivity, we go with any of the 4 topologies that we have discussed earlier. So the next one is the transmission mode. As you know that we have 3 different types of transmission mode, starting from simplex, duplex and full duplex and half duplex. We'll go with any of the transmission mode with this physical layer. So these are the several responsibilities of this physical layer. That when you confine with the physical layer, when you want to say in a single statement, so this is the statement that is given. Each and every layer we have this statement. The physical layer is bound responsible for the movement of individual bits from hop to next, one hop to the next. That is the movement of the bits into the electrical signals. That is the role of the physical layer. The next we will move on to the data link layer. Here, students, am I audible and visible to you with the slides?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you able to follow what I am saying? Can you able to follow?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, students. Okay, next the layer 2 is the data link layer. So here, as I told that the bits will be converted into frames here. So whenever you are receiving any type of data from the upper layer is the network layer, you will be having the data in here. What you are going to do, you are going to add the header and the trailer, that is H2 and T2. The 2 represents the layer 2. Okay, so they transform the physical layer, that is a raw transmission facility, to a reliable link. It makes the physical layer appears to be error free to the upper layer. Now we are moving in the upper direction. So if you whatever the data that you are receiving from the data link physical layer, we want to make those information to be error free, and we are going to transfer to the upper layer. And we want to make their link to be a reliable one. Okay, so that is why we are going for the data link layer. As the name indicates that we have the data, we are going to link the data to the upper layer, or we are going to link the data to the lower layer from whenever you are receiving data from the upper layer. So that is the concept of this data link layer. Here the responsibility, when you take the responsibility, the framing. So why you are going for framing? As you know that the physical layer, the every information will be in the form of bits. So you cannot just straight away, you can, when you go with the bottom up approach, we cannot straight away transmit the stream of bits to the upper layer directly. So what we want to do, we want to group those bits into your frames. So those things will be taken care by this second layer. That is the concept of framing. The data link layer divides the stream of bits from the network layer into a data units. Okay, from when it comes from the upper layer, we will be you will be having the stream of bits that will be converted into frame. The physical addressing, it also actually the stream of bits will be available. This is the network. This is not network layer. This is your physical layer. So it will be converted into the frame. The physical addressing, that is the second case. That is second responsibility. So it provides the physical addressing. Okay, if the frames are distributed to different system, it adds the header to the frame to know the sender and receiver. In the previous slide, you have seen that the header is available along with the data. So what is the necessity of adding header? In order to identify the frame, or in order to identify the sender and the receiver. The header will normally contain, with the help of the physical address, that is, you will be having the MAC address. You know what is MAC address and the IP address. You will be having IP address on layer 4. In layer 2, you will be having this MAC address. Okay, with the help of the MAC address, you will be knowing the sender and you will be knowing the receiver. So that is the physical addressing. Okay, so this data link layer is responsible for physical addressing. The next one, it also performs flow and error control. So it has to regulate the flow of data. Okay, so that is the flow control mechanism. If the data produced at the rate of the sender is less than the absorbed rate of the receiver, then you need to impose the then DL imposes the flow control mechanism to control the overwhelming response of the receiver. Okay, so whenever you have more amount of data that is being generated when it is being received, okay, so you need to control the flow of data. Even though if you have generation of more data, when the sender is receiving smaller data, you need to control the flow accordingly. If you are generating less data when the sender is receiving more amount of data, there also you need to increase your generation. Okay, so that is the set to be controlling. Okay, and either side you need to control the data. So in order to have the overwhelming response of the receiver, you need to control. Okay, sometimes you may have a increased generation, sometimes you may have a that is a decreased generation. You need to control those things. That is said to be the flow control. The next one, error control. It provides the reliability by detecting and transmitting the damaged or the lost frames. Whenever you are transmitting the data, there is a possibility that you may get lost data. So in the last class, when you are discussing about the communication lab, networks lab, there we use it with the ping command. So when you use the ping command, we have seen that 20% of loss available, 50% of loss available. When you transmit 4 data, you may have 2 data gets lost. Okay, so if there is any loss in that case, what normally we will go? We go for the retransmission. So that is what here that is discussed. So this data link layer will take care of that one. It is going to detect how much amount of data it is being received, whether the received data are error free. If you have any damaged data or any of the data is lost or in the form of frame, you need to go for retransmission. So that will be taken care by this error control mechanism. Here the mechanism used to identify the duplicate frame also. So there is a possibility that the same frame will be repeated 2 times. So that is why there is a duplication occurs. So in order to avoid that one, this error control mechanism will take care. And this error control is also achieved with adding trailer at the end of the frame. So in order to identify the error, we go with a trailer at the end. If you want header is added in the first initial stage of the frame, that is in order to identify the MAC address of the sender and the receiver. And the trailer is added to know the error control. That is the error mechanism. What is the error that happens? We'll come to know with the trailer that is added with this data. Okay, so when you go with the data link layer, you will be having header and the trailer. Header is before the data and trailer is after the data. Then the next is the final responsibility, access control. It determines the device access control over a link. Access means I'm going to get the permission to transmit the data. I'm going to capture the media. That is said to be the access. If there are more than one devices available which is connected to a same link, I'm going to control the access. Okay, if there is no one is available, if you are the only one, it is like capturing the bus. If there is no one to capture the bus, then you will be getting to bus very easily. If there are 4 to 5 people running to capture the bus, then you should give some priority to the people who is going to capture the bus. If simultaneously 4 are trying to get into the bus, there may be a possibility that anyone may get down from the bus, that is fall down from the bus. Okay, so in order to avoid that, we are going to have a streamlined process that will be taken care by this access control mechanism. There are several access control mechanisms available. You have CSMA, CD, then collision avoidance. Okay, so those things will be discussed later on. So these are the different responsibilities available with the data link layer. Then when you, as I told that, when you say we want to main functionality of data link layer in CRISP, so this is the case. It is responsible for moving the frames from one layer to next. That is one hop to next. Where in the previous case we are moving bits, here we are moving frames. So layer 2 have frames, layer 1 have stream of bits. The third one is the network layer. Here we will be having the different cases. As you know that you will be having the hop to hop delivery. As you know, hop is the distance between the two nodes. Here you have the intermediate system, here you have the end system. The distance between these two is said to be hop. The hop to hop delivery will be taken care. So it is from layer 2. When you receive the data from network layer, it moves to data link layer, then physical layer. Again for the second node, it will go in the up direction, it will come again back. So if this is the source and this is the destination. If we want to transfer the data, for each node it has to come from the top layer. That is, top layer means whatever the layer currently you are available. If you are available with the network layer, it has to start from there, it has to come down, it has to go to the particular node, it has to come down. So likewise in each and every layer, each protocol will execute its own task. So this is said to be hop to hop delivery. In the network layer, when you go with the hop to hop delivery, you are ensuring that you have the proper data being received from source to the destination. You will take care of each and every node such that each data is transmitted in a suitable way. Okay, so that is the network layer. Here, this is the case. Here also, we will be adding the header. So whenever you receive any data from the upper layer for this network layer will becomes a transport layer. Here, the data will be available in the form of packet. In layer 1, how the information is available? Students, kindly let me know. In layer 1, what will be the nature of the information?
Bits, sir.
Very good. Bits. In layer 2,
Frames.
the bits will be converted into frames. Again, layer 3,
Packets.
packets. The frames will be, group of packets will be converted into, that is, a group of frames will be converted into packets. So that is the layer 3. Okay. So here, whenever you receive information along with the data, you are going to add the header. Okay. So the delivery of packet from source to destination across various links. So that is what we discussed in the previous slide. So we have source, we have the network available. So this is the network. So this is the network in which you will be performing all your data transfer. Physically, you will be looks like. So each and every, when it reaches in each and every node, you will be having this task performed at the OSI layers. Okay, so for this, for your reference, for understanding, it has given on the bottom. Okay, so it delivers packet from source to destination across various link. So the link is nothing but the distance between the two layers is said to be link or a hub. It ensures that each packet reaches the destination from origin. If two systems are connected to same network, there is no need for network layer. When you go for network layer, when you have two systems which are connected with two different systems. So when you discuss with a layering, protocol layering, we discuss with a simple task and a complex task. When you want to go with a different environment where your one node is connected with one network, other node is connected with another network, we go for the network layer. If we have connected with the different networks, then we have the network layer roles to play. It has to ensure the delivery of data from source to destination. One thing you have to need to know, so that this point is vital parameter. So whenever you have nodes connected with the same network, you need not to have network layer. Whenever you have the nodes to be connected or nodes connected with the different networks, we go with the network layer. So here the responsibilities, it performs logical addressing, physical addressing, and routing. Okay, so whenever you go for physical addressing, you will be having the header. So it is used to address the destination if the packet crosses the network boundary. So there we go with the logical addressing. So you know that IP address is the logical addressing, physical addressing is the MAC addressing. Physical addressing address the node within the network. It adds the header to the packet coming from the upper layer. So that is what we have with the physical layer. Then routing, when independent. So routing is the specific task of this network layer. It performs the routing. It has to identify who are the neighbors available so that I may able to reach my destination. Okay, so that is the main task of the network layer. And independent networks are the links connected. To create a larger network or internetwork, we go with the connecting devices. Those connecting devices are said to be routers or the switches. So for that only we go with the network layer. Normally we know that when you go with the network layer, that is switches. So when you have a LAN, you will go with the switches. When you want to connect several LANs, you go with the routers. So the network layer will go with our task of performing the routing. So in a single statement, if we want to say the task of network layer, responsible for delivery of individual packets from source host to the destination host. That is the task of the network layer. The next one, so this is what normally source to destination delivery. So this is the path available to reach the destination. So from the network layer. So before when we start with the network layer, we have only with the data link layer. So when we start with the network layer, this is the process that is to be carried on at each and every node. So when reaches here, you will be having, when reaches here, you will be having this one. When reaches here, you will be having this one. So it ensures that source to destination, provided it will keeps going with each and every networks with layer by layer. The next one is the transport layer. So this is the layer 4. So in the transport layer, the upper layer will be the session layer. You will be receiving the data. Here also you will be adding the header. Okay. Here in the transport layer, the packet will be converted into segment. A single segment will consisting of several packets. So in layer 4, you have the entire data will be in the form of a segment. So it is responsible for processing, process to process. So when you say the process to process is the main task of this transport layer. On the next slide, we'll be discussing what is the process to process. So the application program runs on a host. That is said to be the process. Whatever the process running on one host, that has to be the same process has to be done on the other host. So that is what the transport layer ensures that. So when you go with the network layer, it does not recognize the relationship between the packet. The network layer does not recognize what is the relationship between one packet and another packet, whereas the transport layer does this process. Okay. So it carries out the source to destination delivery from individual packets. So that is what the thing that happens in the network layer. It does not recognize the relationship between the packet, whereas in the process involved, you need to know the relationship here. It ensures the whole message arrives on intact in order. Everything is in order. You have to ensure this with the transport layer. So whenever you go for this ensuring the intact order, we have the error and flow control mechanism that also that take place with this transport layer, with error and flow control mechanism at the destination from the source. So what are the responsibilities? It provides the service point addressing. So it is at the point of thing you will be having this addressing. It cares about the specific program or the process. At a particular point, we have to ensure that all the entities having the same process to be carried out. Okay, when it is carried out on one system, a particular Windows is running, it has to ensure that all the individual intermediate nodes will have those same Windows process is keep on running. Okay, it includes the port address. So in which port? Okay, that is said to be the service point. If I am going to provide some type of service, I am going to provide that particular addressing. That is said to be the service point addressing. So the network layer gets each packet to the corresponding node, and the transport layer gets the entire message to the correct process on that particular computer. So that is what happens in this transport layer responsibility in term with respect to service point addressing. The next one, segmenting and reassembling. This is a vital parameter of the transport layer. Segmenting and reassembling. We are going to divide the message into various segments with see, when you are dividing the larger packet into smaller thing, what will we do? We will be putting some number for each packet. So that is said to be the sequence number. Okay, you are going to divide. So when you are going to divide, when you receive the packet from the higher layer, that is from session layer, when you receive the information, all those information will be divided into individual segments. Okay, segments will be sequenced with the particular number that is called sequence number. These number enable the transport layer to reassemble at the destination. So at the destination, we go for reassembling. That is why its name called as SCR. Segmentation will be done at the transmission side, and reassembling, you are going to combine the packet together and form into the single that segment. That is said to be the reassembling. The next task is the connection control. It provides the connectionless and the connection oriented with the help of the two layer. One is the TCP protocol, other one is the UDP. UDP is going for connectionless and will take the TCP for the connection oriented. So it reach each segment as an individual packet and deliver to the destination. Okay, individual segments will be considered as a packet and delivered to the destination machine. So a connection is established to the destination before the packet is being delivered to the transport layer. So a physical connection will be established before you start with the transmission of a packet. That's why you can say you have the reliability of the data. Reliability of the data is ensured at the transport layer. Once the data reaches the destination, the connection being terminated. First, you have to set up the connection. You are going for data transfer. Then, once the data is transferred, you are going for the connection termination. So this is what normally happens with the layer 2, that is layer 4. Then you have the, as I told, you have flow and error control mechanism. So as you discussed in the layer 2, we have the flow control and the layer control. It is similar to that of the data link layer. Whatever thing that we have discussed in the layer 2, we just follow that one. The transport layer is responsible for the delivery of message from one process to other. The next one, we move on to the session layer, that is the layer 5. So from the presentation layer, you will be receiving the data. Here we will go with this task. Okay, network dialog controller. Okay, so network dialog. So here, whenever you go with a session, first I need to establish the connection. So that is what managing, establishing, and terminating. So that is the function of this session layer. We'll go with the dialog control. So dialog control in the sense I talk, you listen. Okay, so the mode that I'm going to use will be physical, that is a off duplex or the full duplex mode that will be normally used here. Then you go for synchronization. Only when you have a synchronization available, you will be establishing the session control. Then you will be having that whether you are transmitting either the data, audio or the video, you will be having your continuity synchronization. Synchronization plays a vital role here. So for that, you will be adding some checkpoints between the data transmission. You have to ensure whether the data is being received properly. So sending 200 pages, inserting a checkpoint for every 100 pages. You want to ensure that. So that you need to include a checkpoint whether you received the data properly. So for every 100 pages, you will be receiving when you are going to transmit over 2000 pages of data. The session layer is responsible for dialog control and synchronization. So that is the single statement for the session layer. The next one will be the presentation layer. How we are going to present the data to the upper layer or to the lower layer. So it is concerned with the syntax and the semantics of the information. Responsibility, the translation is the vital parameter. It exchanges of characters, strings or the numbers. It is going to translate one form into other. So it will be informing that bit stream transmitting. So it is responsible for interoperability. So you have to be compatible. Okay, changing the sender dependent platform to the common platform. That is the compatibility. So this layer, presentation layer, will be taken care. Then it also performs, as I told in the earlier when we start, we have the encryption and we have the compression. So encryption is nothing but ensuring the privacy. You want to ensure that your data is not being read by an unauthorized user. That's why you are going for the encryption. Then the reverse process of encryption. At the one entity, you will be performing the encryption. At other entity, you will be performing the decryption. From the top-down approach, you will perform encryption. From the bottom-up approach, you will perform the decryption. Compression is nothing but reducing the number of bit stream to either text or either you are going to compress the data. Okay, so that it will be easy to carry when you go with lower down the ordering of your layers. The main responsibility, translation and compression are the encryption of your data. So that is the presentation layer. Finally, you have the application layer. Whatever the application that you are going to do, either you are going to use with Google Chrome or Mozilla, that is the final application in which you are going to fetch your data from a particular website or the address. Okay, so that will be taken care. It enables the users or the human or software to access the entire network. It provides the interface and support services such as email, remote access or the file transfer or the shared database. So everything that will be taken care by this application layer. Here you will be having the information in the form of a message. Okay, so these are the message handling services, that is the directory service. Then the message handling services. In the one activity we have discussed about the about the X.50, which is used for exclusively for the directory services. Okay, so so one activity I remember that previously in the last but one class we have discussed about the directory services. So the application layer will perform the directory services. Then file transfer and access management is also one feature of this application layer. It also provides the network virtual terminal, that is the software version of the physical terminal. It allows the user to log on into the remote host, that is said to be the virtual terminal. The application creates the software emulation at the remote host. It also, the user terminal talks to the computer via the host terminal. It believes that it talks to one of its host terminal. So that is the virtual terminal. It also performs the file transfer, access and the management. It also provides the mail services. Okay, it performs the mail forwarding and storage. Finally, it performs the directory services. Okay, distribution of data sources and global information of the various objects and services. Okay, so when you want to say in a single statement, responsible for providing services to the user. Okay, so this is all about the application layer. So with this, we come to the end of the OSI layers. So in the next class, in the third hour, we will be discussing. I will play a video. Whatever the thing that we learned, starting from physical layer to the top layer, application layer, that will be confined with a particular video. So I'll play that video. You just listen. By playing that video, we'll come to know the exact picture of the OSI layers. Okay, students, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Okay, so that we comes to the end of the session where we can able to have some discussion about the presentation that we had so far. If you have any doubts, you can ask now. Students, if you have any doubt, you can ask now. If we don't have any doubt, we'll wind up the session and we will continue with the topic of video presentation of those layers in the third hour. Do you have any doubts, students? Are you clear? So far in the class, we have started with the layering and we have completed each and every layer, the roles and responsibilities, how the data will be flowing from bottom the stream of bits to the upper layer message. Students, are you clear? Kindly acknowledge,
Sir.
students. Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Dinesh Kumar, whether you both available today? Both Dinesh Kumar?
Sir, roll number 19%, sir.
What about 20?
Don't know, sir.
Okay, so it seems that if 20 is not replying 20 is absent. Okay, if I don't find 20, I'll mark it as an absent. Okay, so that's all for now. Thank you, students. We'll meet again in the third hour. Okay, thank you.